Well, the tightness in Singapore's labour market appears to be easing, with vacancies falling for 3 straight quarters last year.
That's right. That's according to the latest jobs report that was issued by the Manpower Ministry. It reflects a boom in hiring after borders reopened in April.
When border restrictions were lifted, it became a lot easier for employers to backfill vacancies or to backfill positions that were previously vacated by non-residents during the height of the pandemic. The other thing is about the tight labour market has also spurred employers to raise wages to improve the effectiveness of some of these jobs. So this has actually helped to increase the job take-up rates.
Job vacancies fell to over 104,000 in December, nearly 4,000 fewer than 3 months before. That's even as businesses created more new positions as they expanded and restructured. These were snapped up with a record low of 27% of vacancies remaining unfilled for at least 6 months.
Of these, more than half were for PMETs, reflecting a high demand for skilled workers. That's especially in sectors like financial and insurance services, as well as health and social services.
Employers, especially for smaller employers who have been struggling for the longest time to hire people, it may possibly be a bit tougher. Again, bearing in mind in Singapore, we only have so many local talents floating around. Trying to bring in foreign talent is getting more and more challenging. So I believe employers really would have their work cut out for them.
For a clearer picture of the jobs report and the state of our labour market, here's our reporter Clara Lee. She's in studio with us. Clara, it's good to see you. It seems, at least on the surface of it, that it's quite a rosy picture for the labour market.
Well, it certainly does seem rosy, doesn't it? But I'm afraid that the whole picture might not be so. So on one hand, yes, fewer job vacancies means that firms are filling manpower gaps. And it means that these jobs are being snatched up by people who really need these jobs. And what does this all mean? The report actually suggests that the employers are actually redesigning jobs and raising salaries to attract and retain employees like you and I. And the report also highlighted that the demand for tech talents has actually remained robust and still remains strong. But we have to bear in mind that this report is actually extrapolated from data from back in September 2022. So if you recall, during that time, that's when we were getting news of mass retrenchment exercises from various tech giants across the globe, not just in Singapore. So I did speak with one of the bigger recruitment agencies in the country to find out if the reality on the ground since 2023 is any different from the report that we're seeing today. And he did say that, yes, in fact, there are actually fewer vacancies in the tech sector for job seekers. Let's take
that normalcy has come in because of the large amount of hiring that happened in the past has subsided. You have seen some layoffs being announced in the recent times as well. Startups, they are being squeezed for return on investment, and their agility to just go out and hire aggressively has toned down a lot.
So are recruiters now saying they're finding it hard to match job seekers with the right kind of tech roles?
Well, that's exactly right. The recruiter that I spoke to say that they are taking more time to match job seekers at their doors to vacant tech roles. And this could be due to a number of reasons. For one, he says that there is a shrinking amount of, when it comes to risk, when it comes to employment. And that's why employers might be hesitant to hire people just fresh out the door. And the report also suggests that employers are now focusing and prioritizing job experience over academic qualifications on paper. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a fresh graduate for a second who is trying to secure his or her first job straight out of the gate. And you will notice that it's that much harder to get your foot in the door. So I actually had the privilege of speaking to one of these graduates myself. And he's been trying for months since the start of this year to secure a job.
1, 2, 3, smile.
Mikhail Faiz needs to look good. The computer science graduate is knee-deep in his job hunt, with interviews all lined up. He's setting his sights on the tech industry. But judging by this spreadsheet, getting a foot in the door is proving tricky. Of the more than 100 companies he has applied to, only 7 have gotten back to him.
So, Mikhail, can you tell me how your job hunting process has been so far?
Honestly, it's been quite exhausting. I think even if you are rejected, they don't really tell you. until maybe after they've actually found a candidate.
And you're trying to enter the tech sector right now, and it's being hit by a round of layoffs. So how does that affect a fresh graduate like you who's trying to secure a job?
All these more experienced people who have gotten laid off, now they are competing in the same pool as the fresh grads, and obviously they would be more, in most cases they'll be more desirable than a fresh grad because they have the experience already.
He expects the competition to get worse as each cohort of computer science graduates continues to grow.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge that Mikhail is facing there, Clara. I mean, we've heard about the challenges that professionals, executives are facing, but what about for non-PMETs?
Well, when it comes to non-PMETs, two sectors definitely stand out according to the report. And these two form the vast majority of sectors that have the highest number of unfilled vacancies. So the first is transportation and storage. So that refers to our cargo supervisors and warehouse staff. And the second is accommodation and food services. So naturally, hotels do come to mind. And I've had the pleasure of speaking to one of the hotel managers in Singapore myself. And he says that he's been trying to cope with a surge in demand ever since the border restrictions have been eased. But he's hedging his bets and he's trying to look for alternative solutions beyond just manual labour.
Hotels like this one are desperate for hires. Staff are working more than the usual hours to pick up the slack, especially when vacancies are taking months longer to fill. With the hotel running on about 2/3 of its usual strength, it's now turning to technology to shore up the ranks.
This robot is our in-room delivering robot, who is actually helping our housekeeping to deliver all the amenities into the room.
And there are actually 4 doors here. Are these where the amenities go?
Yes, these are all the amenities that we actually kept inside here, and that is actually the towels and everything.
So let's give this robot something to do. I have a towel to be delivered to room 234. So I'll put it in this compartment, close the door. It's all very easy actually, even I can use it. And select room 234, and off it goes.
The robot is not alone. On the way up, it meets another colleague sweeping the corridor. These robots each can do the work of up to 5 people, and guests don't seem to mind the lack of human touch.
It's actually is doing more on the general delivering job and all this thing, but in fact actually that create a lot of curiosity and a lot of people like it.
So, Clara, we could say the job market is still in flux, but actually, as you were clarifying earlier, it's not just in flux. It's not clear who has the advantage right now, employers or employees. In this transition phase, assuming it's in transition, what should employers and employees do as they navigate this situation?
Well, there's actually a lot we can do. So I spoke to an analyst and he said that if I were an employer, for example, looking to hire and retain talent, he said my first priority should be 1, job redesign, and 2nd, automation. So like we saw with M Social Hotel just now, they turned their solution for a manpower crunch into a selling point. And now that it reminds me, during my visit at the hotel, that wasn't the only robots that I saw. In fact, when I went to the restaurant at the hotel, I noticed that the omelets were being flipped by a robot called Oscar. So naturally, I had to try some of Oscar's omelets. And to be fair, they were really quite delicious. And on the other hand, if I were a job seeker looking to find my first job, or maybe make a mid-career switch, the analyst said my focus should be on recognizing my professional goals and recognizing the company's cultural setting and commitment to that, instead of looking at just numbers and figures and beyond in the salary package. So these all can be ironed out during the interview process. And like we saw Mikhail intensively preparing for just now. In fact, Mikhail actually has a big interview lined up on Monday. So I do want to wish him good luck.
Yeah, so do we. We should, shouldn't we? It has to be the right fit.
Of course. Yeah. I'm sure it will be.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us this evening and in your way, giving us far more background into just facts and figures. Our reporter, Clara Lee.